republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Pleasure. Motion by Mr. Mutter. Second. Second by Mr. Fiorillo. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 5-0. The chair voting yes, and I'd like to note for the record that Mr. DeMonica and Mr. Salvatore are absent this evening. Next item on the agenda is the student government report, student activities. Is there anyone here from the high school? Is he on vacation? Excellent. Next item is the consent agenda, approval of minutes from special meeting 4/2/2014, special meeting 4/7/2014, regular meeting 4/10/2014, and approval of executive session minutes for 10/2014. Pleasure of the committee. Motion to approve the consent agenda by Mr. Mutter, second by Mr. Duffy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Next item, report out of executive session meeting from 4/10/2014. The report out of executive session from 4/10. Oh, you know what? Mrs. Shabbat had said it should be for today's meeting. So for the record, that should read report out of executive session meeting from today. There were no votes taken. Thank you, Mrs. Steele. Next item is the superintendent's report, technology update. Dr. Thornton.
Hello, good evening. We have 3 items to update you on technology. First, the wireless initiative in the 8 schools is nearly complete. We are now 95% complete with the 8 schools as far as being wireless. We have one last change order in court for some equipment to finalize in court. Otherwise, we are wireless. That's the first item. Number 2, the short throw LCD projectors have been installed in all the middle school classrooms in both middle schools. Next up, we're doing the software to really make these things live. That's happening in the next couple of weeks. And lastly, some exciting news. We now have Gmail accounts for all middle school and high school students. And we'll be rolling that out in the next couple of weeks as far as turning it on, activating it, and the whole process. So that's exciting.
Thank you. We're just going to move up back to the report out of executive session meeting. We do need a vote to seal the minutes of executive session. Motion by Mr. Mutter. Second by Mrs. Steele. All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Sorry about that. Next item is funding formula and the basic education program. I have nothing new to report outside of the fact that we did have the opportunity to meet with Mayor McKee on last Tuesday, not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday prior, I believe it was. Mr. Mutter, Alex Prignano, our business manager, and Superintendent Thornton were there. We did discuss with the mayor some of the concerns that we have, and the mayor did discuss with us his interest around having the school department and the school faculty move to a social security-based program. We've asked Mr. Prignano to share a little bit with that with us. Mr. Mutter, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Excellent. All right. Next item on the agenda, and we are meeting again on next Wednesday to continue our discussions. Next item is report of standing committees, payment of bills. Mr. Mutter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are no payment of bills this evening.
Nice. And fiscal management subcommittee update?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fiscal management met Tuesday evening, and most of the discussion was around this year's recently completed audit of the town and school department. We were updated by Ms. Pat Boucher of Bacon and Company. That was a really good discussion, and they have some information that could help us down the line. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Thank you. Mrs. Teal, Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update. Same with Achievement and Communications. It's a little quiet this week. So Next item, comments from the public. Is there anyone here this evening that wishes to speak? Hearing none. New business, discussion and/or vote to approve overnight student field trip, Washington, D.C., McCourt Middle School, and North Cumberland Middle School. Dr. Thornton.
We have Dr. Matheson here this evening to fill you in.
Good evening. We have put a request to the superintendent's office for our yearly Washington DC trip that takes place during Veterans Weekend in November. Any questions I can answer?
Mr. Fiorillo.
Dr. Masterson, any changes from last year's trip?
The only change that we looked to make was, instead of going to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, we have tried to go to the museum, which is fairly new, and last year we felt we missed out because of the 50th anniversary of the assassination of JFK, and they had an extensive display that we weren't prepared to go to. So it seems that Madame Tussauds has run its course without room, and we're going to try the museum.
Any other questions?
The prices also stay the same as well.
All right, pleasure of the committee on the overnight student field trips. Motion by Mr. Fiorillo, second by Mr. Duffy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item, discussion of student enrollment, current and projected. Dr. Thornton.
Yes, thank you. You have two sheets of your places. You put them side by side. One says current, upper left corner, and one says 14-15 projection as of April 16th. I'll kind of talk you through where we are. This is K-5 now we're talking about tonight. On your left side, you have your current. You can see bottom right corner, 97 teachers, 2,043 students. And as you know, that's a moving target. It can move each month, but that's a snapshot, 2,043. Now, if you go to the right page, go to the bottom corner, you'll see 1934. That is including kindergarten, but not including the summer kindergarten enrollees, which we get approximately 50 or more students. So say we get another 50, 60 students, we're probably looking at being down, let's say 50, 55 students from the previous year. Now, those 55 students will come from 95 different classrooms. So I could potentially close 2 classrooms, one in community, you see -1 there on community, grade 4 potentially, and Cumberland Hill, grade 1. So when folks sometimes try to understand why can't we save money if we lose 50 some odd students, those 50 some odd kids come from 95 classrooms from 5 schools. That's why it's not a one-to-one correlation. Is there some savings with small items here or there? Sure, some paper savings here or there, absolutely, but it's nothing that will have a large dollar amount, if you will. So I wanted to show you that, just to show you where we are with the enrollments, and you can see the sections there as they break out. For example, Ashton School in Redgate next year, you still have 2-track schools, so 2 classrooms per grade, if you will, 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, etc. You can see how that kind of unfolds. The one big change, I think, year over year was, if you look at community grade 4 on the left-hand side, they actually ran 6 grade 4s this year. They had to, and that wouldn't happen next year if all goes as planned. Right now, we'll be down to 5, I believe, possibly 4. So that's kind of how it shakes out now. Like I said, that can change. We get enrollees in all grades all times of the year. We update this monthly. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the K-5 enrollment, either current or projected.
Any questions? Dr. Thornton, you have the preschool, 95 students current, and projected is 47. Is there an expectation that it'll be more toward the norm?
Actually, I thought Shakar here, you can fill in for us.
Good evening. The numbers that you have for preschool are the current students who are still going to be in the 3- and 4-year-old classrooms, but that does not include the students on IEPs who are going to turn 3 in the course of the next school year and are going to move in and become eligible for services as they approach their 3rd birthday. That explains the discrepancy.
So we would likely have another 40, 45 students with IEPs?
Hopefully not more, because we're running very close to our maximum capacity, but yes, that's about every year. We start with approximately that same number and end with the same number. Because we have 4 classrooms, and Rhode Island regulations state that we can have up to 15 students comprised of up to 8 students without disabilities and up to a maximum of 7 of children with IEPs.
Thank you very much. Mr. Martin?
Is there on the projected one on the community 5th grade, is there a mistake there where there should be 6 classes in 5th grade? How did you go from 6 in grade 4 to 5 in grade 5?
Right now, what we do is we just roll the students up where they are, and who's going to be here next year. And those are how they rolled up right now, actuals right now, as they rolled up.
Yeah,
It looks like it should be 5
there
classes.
should be another class in the grade 5, right, next year?
It looks as though you dropped a class, but you are expecting the same number of students from grade 4 to grade 5.
Actually, you know what, the error is, it says 6 FTE, you shouldn't say 6 FTE there on top.
I think it should.
I think it should too, because the enrollment hasn't changed unless you have the ability to have more students in grade 5
No.
and grade 4.
I just think there's a mistake there, right? I think that it's, because if you add the 5 up, it's not coming to 129 anyways. I think it's supposed to be 6. I think there's another one missing. That's all. Other than that, I just want to know where those kids are.
We will double check that.
Okay.
Mr. Duffy?
Just when I look at everything rolls up from this year to next year. The numbers might be a difference of one here and one there. But I notice in the current is to the projected, the kindergarten is down roughly 50 students year over year. Is it just population, or is there anything that you find is attributed to that?
No, right now, if you heard me earlier, I said we actually take K kids in the spring and the summer. Roughly more than half the kids come in now, but with summer, 50 or so more come in, we're not done yet. So right now, that's the actual number as of April. But we'll have more enrollees in kindergarten all summer. We expect typically over every summer, 50 or so more to come in. So I think it'll be very close to the 285, 280, last year's number, 286, it'll be close to that again.
And don't you also have a handful of first graders who arrive? I mean, I know there's a sprinkling of other students, but some come from private kindergarten programs.
We do.
Okay. Any further questions? Excellent. Next item on the agenda is discussion of Mayor McKee's proposal of Social Security benefits for teachers. The administration thought that this would be a good discussion to begin, because I know I certainly had a lot of questions for Mr. Brignano and a lot of assumptions that weren't entirely accurate. So if you could kind of give us a high-level summary, and then we can dig a little deeper, that would be great.
Oh, okay, I'll try. I passed out some sheets, I think everyone has them. The first sheet I would work off is the one that says Social Security to Pension Savings Comparison. Kind of looks like this. So on that sheet, what I'm just trying to show you, if we went to Social Security, not only would the teacher have to contribute their 6.2% on top of their Medicare amount of 1.45, which everyone contributes now, but the school department would also have to match that 6.2%. So I've estimated teacher salary is about $26 million a year. Our Social Security costs on that would be about $1.6 million, $1.612 according to the sheet that I have in front of you. Now, right now with the pension system under the new defined contribution plan that's being managed by TIACREF, districts that don't contribute Social Security, whose employees don't participate, teachers who don't participate in Social Security, they have to pay an additional 2%. So if our teachers went into Social Security, that 2% would go away. And that 2% on the 26 million would be about 520,000. So the net cost a year would be about $1.1 million to the district that we would have to add to the budget if our teachers were to go into Social Security. Below, I show you, below that calculation, there are some requirements if teachers were to receive Social Security in Cumberland. It's not just, it's just, they just can't, okay, we're gonna do this. These are just some of the requirements. First of all, the Cumberland's legislative body, which I would imagine would be the town council in this case, would have to request the governor to authorize a referendum. The governor would have to set a date and designate a commission to supervise that vote or referendum. Prior to the referendum, which this doesn't really make sense to me, because why have the referendum? But teachers would be divided into two groups, for and against, so you kind of almost know the outcome of the vote if you did that. And teachers would need to have a majority vote to join. All teachers would have to participate, even if it was a 51-49% vote, the 49% would have to also join. It can't be, well, I'll join, but I'm going to choose not to. It would be everyone or no one. And then if the vote failed, they wouldn't be able to bring this, try to do this again or have another referendum for at least 3 years. So those are some of the things that I found in looking at what's required for a district that's chosen not to be in Social Security that now wants to join. There are two other items that we can consider, and there's a whole number of things, but two of the items that I picked out were the windfall provision and the government pension offset, and I handed out some paperwork on that. And I would see these as negatives for me if I was going to ask, if someone's going to ask me to vote whether I want to be in Social Security or not. The windfall elimination provision, and you can read it at your leisure, but going down into the second gray box, I'll just read from that. The windfall elimination provision primarily affects you if you earned a pension in any job where you did not pay Social Security taxes, and you also worked in other jobs long enough to qualify for Social Security, retirement, or disability benefits. So you worked a job, you got a pension, no Social Security, you then went into another job, worked another career in Social Security program and earned enough credits to participate. There's an elimination provision, a windfall elimination provision. And I attached a couple of sheets to it. So for example, if you turn to the third sheet in that packet, in that Social Security position that you were in, if you had that first pension, now you have the Social Security pension. If you worked 20 years in a Social Security type job and would retire at 20 years, in 2014 you would have a reduction of $408 a month in your Social Security benefit because of the other pension that you're participating in. And as you look down, those numbers have been growing each and every year. So if you were 10, 15 years in and you hadn't been participating in Social Security, I'm not sure it'd really be worth it to now try to earn enough credits with the offsets that are coming to warrant taking 6.2% pay reduction each week, which would be ramifications of them joining a Social Security plan. The second piece is the government pension offset. And this applies mainly to a spouse's pension or whatever. And what it does is, your Social Security benefits will be reduced by 2/3 of your government pension. In other words, if you get a monthly civil pension of $600, 2/3 of that, or $400, must be deducted from your Social Security benefits. And if you go to the second page there, it gives you an example of just how that would work. Where if you were a surviving spouse, if you were going to get your spouse's pension, and your government pension was $600, your pension was $600, and your spouse's pension that you were going to get in this calculation, $500 pension. 2/3 of your pension of $600 or $400 would be subtracted from your spouse's surviving benefit pension, that Social Security benefits that you're going to get. So in that example, the $600 times the 2/3 is $400. If your spouse's benefits to you were left with $500, you'd subtract $400 from the $500, and you get only $100 of those benefits, not the full $500. So both of those are things that, that obviously Social Security is not the best shape it was, obviously years ago. And these type of things have been enacted to try to keep, those who have other benefits and pensions and stuff, reductions to keep the plan, more solvent and stuff like that. So, but I see both of those as if I was voting as saying, gee, am I really going to get my bang for my buck of having 6.2% every week taken out of my pay? So it's just a couple of things that I looked up, and Dr. Thorne's request.
I did speak to the new president, he's well aware of this, I've had this talk before, and he can say without doubt, they have no interest in this whatsoever, for reasons he's mentioned, he has zero interest in this conversation.
Mrs. Steele?
So, the mayor proposed this. What was supposed to be the benefit to the school committee?
I think what the, I'm not really, I don't know if I should speak for the mayor, but I think what the mayor was thinking was that with the state pension system changes that have occurred, where the amount you earn each year, is much different than a few years ago. You have 1% credit, you now have to work to 67. All those pension changes that were made on teachers in the last few years don't really make the state pension system that attractive anymore. And that by giving them the second pension, I think, to encourage teachers to stay in the profession and all that type of stuff. I think he saw it as a benefit, the way I read his comments in the paper, that they would maybe extend the longer school day for this type of benefit. But I'm not sure that, with Dr. Thornton had a conversation with the union, I'm not sure that would be the case.
Hearing that now, though, it's not a benefit for the employee. In the district now, those numbers you have also show us what it costs for us, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would cost us roughly $1.1 million a year. And it would go up every year as raises go. So that's at $26 million. If 3 years from now, teacher salaries are $28 million, it'd be 6.2 or $28 million, would grow, It would grow by whatever the percentage increase in raises were each year, basically.
So it's financially not to our benefit to do this, correct? And it doesn't seem to be financially to the
Well,
employee's benefit.
If you could pay that, I think what he was proposing, if you could pay that $1 million a year, or whatever it is, $1.1 million, and that allowed the teachers were so interested in getting into Social Security that they would give you the longer school day that he has talked about wanting to see in Cumberland. I think that's where he was going with this. I'm not exactly sure that the teachers see it as a benefit. I think younger teachers are like living for today and that type of stuff, and they don't even know if it's going to be there. And if you're a teacher that's been in 10, 12, 15 years without it, I don't know if you're going to be able to work enough years to recoup enough money in it to make it worth your while.
Put it this way, in his schedule, it says if you're under 20 years, you're paying the maximum 408. We have around 270 employees at step 10 right now. So if they're already at step 10, they've got 15, 20 years in, a lot of our folks aren't going to get even to the first threshold of this required process.
And they might not even get 20 years of service, depending on, some people would, you have to look at every individual as different.
Mr. Duncan?
So have there been any other communities that you're aware of that have made this move in the last few years?
Not that I'm aware of, I believe there's 14 communities in the state where teachers participate, and so I guess that would leave 20-something others that don't.
But it's not a new move they've made, it's just they've been on Social Security, paying Social Security for years. They haven't transitioned from the
Not that I'm
the state
aware of.
retirement.
I couldn't honestly answer that, but not that I'm aware of. You kind of would hear that news, but I mean, maybe I didn't, but I don't think there are.
Okay. And just to go back to this page here that you mentioned,
Yes.
when I'm looking at this, I see the teacher salary, the Social Security cost of 6.2. That's 6.2 that the teachers would be paying in, correct?
And us.
And we match the 6.2 as well.
So that would be our cost, and the $1,612,000 would be spread out over your 400 teachers. They would pay the same amount in. It's a dollar for dollar match.
So, but right now what we're looking at is it would cost us more and the teachers more as well to switch over this system.
Well,
By costing more, would the teachers actually be getting more benefits, paying monthly paychecks?
actually,
once they
it would cost
retire?
the teachers. It would cost the teachers, I believe, more than us because we get the 2% credit on the tier credit, which I don't believe they would. They still could because we contribute a larger portion into the state system than the employees do, and so it would. So the teachers would generate the $1,600,000, we would generate $1,100,000 because we would get a credit on something else. So Social Security payments would both be $1,600,000, but we would have a credit on our tier credit that they wouldn't.
My final point on this, so I see it would cost both sides more. In the end, the monthly paycheck, if they would retire, is it a higher paycheck when they retire if they move over to the Social Security system or if they stay in the current system?
Well, I think each person's individual, depends on when they retire, how many years they have in, do they have quarters in before when they came to Cumberland, and, you know, you'd have to look at each individual separately, but certainly someone who was maybe, you know, as old as Dr. Thornton in the late 40s, and had never participated in a social security plan, I don't think that'd be the time for them to recruit, but I don't know how many teachers we have like that. Other people have worked other jobs, second careers, there's a lot of things that, you know, each person's their own individual story.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If we need to put it back on the agenda, just let me know, we can continue the discussion. Thank you, Mr. Brignano. Next item is discussion and or vote to approve renumbering and formatting of policies. Mrs. Teal. Oh, sorry about that. Discussion of fiscal 15 school budget. Is there any discussion?
I'll get down in case we have any conversation.
Anyone have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Fiorello. Okay, Mrs. Teal, you're up.
Thank you. As I mentioned at our last meeting, I would like to renumber the policies so they make a little more sense. We're just going to use the first letter of each section and just number them sequentially. That's what I'm proposing. And I'd like to make a motion to allow me to renumber the policies, please.
So Mrs. Teal moves to renumber the policies. Mr. Fiorello seconds it. Any further discussion? Mr. Duffy.
Just for clarification, so right now, if it starts with J, everything instead of being J, J, M, it would just be J1, J2 like that?
Exactly.
So if the first letter would stay the same and everything after would just change?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
They remain in the same chapters.
You can also look at, that was the NSBA's codification,
Old codification.
and now they have a new one that's numeric, so you may also want to consider that.
It just needs to be something simpler.
Yep, I disagree. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Next item, discussion and or vote to approve homeschool instruction requests for 13-14 school year. Mr. Mitchell?
I recommend approval, Madam Chair.
Pleasure of the committee. Mrs. Teal moves passage of the homeschool instruction requests. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Fiorello and Mr. Meyer. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? I can barely hear you, Mrs. Teal. That's 5-0 with the chair voting yes.
It's
It's a blessing. Next item is personnel recommendations. Mrs. Vogel.
Hi, I just have one personnel recommendation. I request advice and consent of the school committee on the unpaid leave of Shayla, I think I'm going to say it right, Stauber, Stauber. She's a grade 1 teacher at BF Norton. The leave would be effective May 19th, 2014 for the remainder of the school year.
Pleasure of the committee. Motion by Mr. Fiorello. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Duffy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mrs. Vogel.
Thank you.
It's a good time of year for personnel recommendation. Very lean.
Got it.
Next item, school committee comments, school liaison reports. Mr. Duffy.
I would just like to recognize and thank the scouts from Troop 1 for showing up tonight. They're working on a merit badge, and again, just wanted to welcome you and thank you for attending.
Thank you for having us.
Is it the communications badge?
Citizenship in the community.
Excellent. Well, thank you for participating tonight. Anyone else?
The troop wants I can go by, talk Social Security with them.
Yes, Mr. McDonald, we're talking about Social Security and your options.
They should go.
All right, I guess that's it. I can't remember. Dr. Thornton, do we have an executive session?
We do not.
I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Fiorello, second by Mr. Duffy. All those in favor? Those opposed? And we are adjourned at 7:43. Good night, everyone.